Alhamdulillahi wahda wassalatu wassalamu ala man la nabiyya ba'da wa ala alihi wa ashabihi alladhina awfu ahda. Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah number 2 and chapter number 2. The changing of the Qibla and the objection of the Jews. The first thing mentioned in the beginning of the second chapter is the changing of the direction of Qibla. When the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, peace and blessings be upon him, left Makkah and migrated to Medina for approximately 16 or 17 months, the Muslim would perform salah in the direction of Masjid al-Aqsa. But it was the wish of the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, peace and blessings be upon him, that the Muslims prayed towards the Kaaba, which was built by this forefathers Ibrahim and Ismail alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then revealed the command, فَوَلِّ وَجْهَكَ شَطْرَ الْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ. When this verse was revealed, the Jews began objecting upon the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, saying that what type of a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is this praying towards Masjid al-Aqsa as the Qibla and then changing it to the Kaaba. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded, قُلْ لِلَّهِ الْمَشْرِقُ وَالْمَغْرِبُ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ. The purpose of sending the Prophet. Here the Quran outlines four fundamental purposes for the sending of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Number one, يَتْلُو عَلَيْكُمْ آيَاتِنَا وَيُزَكِّيكُمْ وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ. The first purpose is to recite the verses. The second, to purify the souls. The third is to teach the book. And the fourth, to teach the wisdom. These have also been mentioned in various other places of the Quran also. The symbols of Islam in the period of ignorance prior to the advent of Islam, idols would be kept upon the Mount Safa and Marwa. The Muslims were reluctant to make tawaf for this reason, upon which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed that Safa and Marwa are from the symbols of Islam. Therefore, the Muslims should feel no apprehension in performing tawaf around them. Note, for a detailed explanation of the rulings of Hajj and Umrah, the book of Mutakallim Islam, Maulana Muhammad Ilyas Dhuman Hafizahullah, Hajj and Umrah should be studied. Four things declared haram. The politics of Makkah had declared certain things to be halal and others to be haram from themselves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refutes this falsehood of theirs by explaining that only those things are haram which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has declared haram. Here four things are mentioned: carrion, flowing blood, swine, and those animals that are slaughtered in the name of other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The benefits of qisas. The issue of qisas, legal relation, is explained in detail. Know that if people were to begin acting in accordance to the rules of qisas, then in this there is life for the both the killer and the one killed. Because if the killer knows that the punishment for this crime is death, he will abstain from it. And if the killer does not commit the act of killing, then the one killed will obviously remain alive. Bequest. The rulings of making a bequest are outlined, which if understood correctly and implemented, would save numerous families from internal disputes. From which wealth should the bequest be made? For whom should the bequest be made? For questions of this nature, one's local scholars should be consulted. Fasting and the month of Ramadan. Then the obligation of fasting is mentioned, along with the necessary conditions and rulings, after which the month of Ramadan is mentioned. Among us, the virtues of this month is that in the Quran was revealed. The benefit of moon. From the moon, we come to know of the dates as well as coming to know of the time of certain acts of worship, jihad and fighting in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Jihad is obligatory and its purpose is to elevate the world of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Jihad will remain obligatory until the day of judgment, the doomsday. It should be borne in mind that in the terminology of the Sharia, jihad refers to fighting in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where the word jihad has been used for other than fighting in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that is in its linguistic meaning, not the Shari meaning. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Exalted, has declared the Mujahideen to be superior to those who have an abundance of good deeds and actions. Jihad is a truly blessed, sacred, and exalted act of worship. Hajj. Hajj is from amongst the fundamental pillars of Islam. Hajj primarily has two pillars. Number one, the wukuf, staying at Arafah. And number two, the tawaf of ziyarah. Hajj lasts for 5 days from the 8th of Dhul Hijjah until the 12th of Dhul Hijjah. Note, for a detailed explanation of the rulings of Hajj and Umrah, the book of Mutakallim Islam Maulana Muhammad Ilyas Gumman, Hafizahullah. Hajj and Umrah should be studied. The punishment of the apostates, the one who is a believer and then leaves Islam and adopts disbelief, is an apostate. If he refuses to return to Islam after having been reasoned with and having had explained the answers to any objections or contentions he may have, then all of his prior good deeds will be wasted, and he becomes deserving of capital punishment as well as the punishment of the fire of hell. It is important to mention here that it is not the right of every person who wishes to carry out the punishment for apostasy, in that if they become aware of a particular apostate, they may go and kill him. This is a duty for the ruling of government. The ruling of intercourse during menstruation. To have intercourse during the days of menstruation is forbidden and haram. The monthly cycle a woman experiences a menstruation, head, and the bleeding experienced after the birth of a child is postnatal bleeding, nifas. The Quran states the intercourse during the days of menstruation is forbidden, but the impermissibility of intercourse during the days of postnatal bleeding is not mentioned in the Quran, although that too is haram. The impermissibility of intercourse during the days of postnatal bleeding is mentioned in the Ahadith and can also be understood from the prohibition of intercourse during menstruation by way of deductive analogy. The main reason for this prohibition is that these days are days of impurity. Note, although the wife becomes halal for her husband after nikah, just like how it is prohibited to have intercourse during menstruation or postnatal bleeding, so too is it haram to have intercourse from the back passage. To do so is completely forbidden. The issue of divorce. The issue of divorce is explained in detail. It is prudent to mention under the discussion that if one divorce is given, then it will count as one. If two divorces are given, then they will count as two. And if three divorces are issued, then they are considered as three. Note, for an in-depth and firmly grounded explanation of the issue of divorce, reference should be made to file Masala Talaq Salasa by Mutakallim Islam Maulana Muhammad Ilyas Gumman Hafizahullah. Relationship established via fasting. It is then mentioned that mothers should breastfeed their children up to the age of 2 years, Islam has also provided guidance in relation to the breastfeed child. For a thorough analysis of the issue of the terms of breastfeeding, file objections to the Hanafi fiqh and their answers by Mutakallim Islam Maulana Muhammad Ilyas Gumman Hafizahullah should be consulted. If a child drinks the milk of a woman other than his mother during the period of sucking, then she becomes the foster mother of that child, and she becomes the foster child of that woman. Just like how some blood relations are haram upon a person, so true are those with whom the relationship of fasting is established. If one is faced with such circumstances, they should consult their local scholars for details of this matter. If a woman is given a divorce or her husband dies, then iddah become binding upon her. The iddah of a divorced woman who experiences menstruation is 3 complete menstrual cycles. And if for some reason she does not experience menstrual cycles, then her iddah is for 3 months. If the husband dies and the woman is not pregnant, then her iddah is 4 months and 10 days. And if she is pregnant, then her iddah is until the child is born. To propose a woman during the days of her iddah. If a woman is in her iddah and a person wishes to express his desire to marry her upon the completion of her iddah, then he should not do so in a clear and unequivocal manner, but rather he should inform her of his intention in an indirect and ambiguous manner. Hazrat Talut alayhi salam, the end of this chapter makes mention of the representative of the truth Hazrat Talut alayhi salam and the incident involving him and the representative of falsehood Jalut. Jalut had both force and abundant reinforcements as well as an organized army. Hazrat Talut alayhi salam had very little force and a very small army. Yet in spite of this apparent disadvantage, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave victory to Hazrat Talut alayhi salam. The Quran has provided a clear guideline. Kam min fi'atin qalilatin ghalabat fi'atan kathiratan bi'iznillah. That how many groups have passed that were weak in force and few in number, yet due to their obedience and dutifulness, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted them victory. From this, we should understand that whenever Muslims are successful, it is not on the basis of the worldly materials and strength at their disposal, but rather it is due to their belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the righteous acts they perform for His sake. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us complete trust and reliance upon Him alone. Ameen. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen.